Hello and welcome to the Houdini Renascence Program Volume 1. This is the updated version, so we're working in Houdini 18.5, so we're going to be using all the new tools and workflows that have been implemented by SideFX. For this first project, we're focusing on modeling, and we're just looking at the basis of modeling and a bit of an introduction to Houdini. We're going to be lighting, rendering, adding materials in the new Solaris context and rendering with the new render engine Karma. And then we're going to be doing a little bit of compositing in Nuke, and we'll end up with a really beautiful render at the end and a nice kind of basis to understanding Houdini. Okay, so here we are in Houdini. If your layout doesn't look the same as mine, then just head up here and go to build. It should be on this by default, so in case it looks different, then you can come here, set it to build, and then it'll be back at the default. So to introduce everything here, maybe we'll start just by dropping a sphere. So just come here, click on sphere, and then just press enter. If you click, then it will place it wherever your mouse is. So I just press enter and it will be at the center. So here we got the viewport. That's where we can actually see our geometry. If you press Alt and then left mouse button, you can do this. Middle mouse button to do this. You can see the instructions on the bottom there. When I press Alt, left mouse tumbles, middle mouse pans, right mouse button to dolly as well. Okay. Oops. Control Z to go back. See, I moved that there, so I press Control Z to go back, which is kind of your standard. So on the right here, you can see when we drop that sphere, we have this little box which is called a node, and this is a geometry node. And you can see it says sphere object 1. So this is an object, and this is in our object context. Okay. And then up here we can see sphere object 1, so it obviously relates to this. And this is the parameter window which we can use to make changes to this. So we can actually type in here. So if I press 1, you can see my sphere moves up a little. Press 0, goes down. So if I want to make any other changes to this, okay, I'd have to go into a different context. So as I said, this is the OBJ context out here. And if I click on this arrow, oh, sorry, not on the arrow, here, then we can see we got other networks, other contexts. We got chops there, we got the image context. So there are quite a few, but most of your time will be spent in the OBJ context, okay, objects, and within OBJ will be SOPs, which is actually surface operators where you're working on geometry, doing simulations, things like that, okay. We'll talk more about these as and when we come to them, because if I go over each one and explain them, it can be a bit boring, so I won't bother with that now. So now we're in the object context. So here typically you would have different objects. So you might have a sphere, and then you might have a ground. So if we press, you can come up here again and press grid, and then you have a ground. There we go, another object. Okay. You might have a camera. So on the right here, we've got cameras. So I can press camera, drop a camera. So that comes there. We can drop a light, point light. Okay. So you can see that we're kind of building up our scene here. Now, after doing all this and explaining it, I've got to explain that things have kind of changed recently, and we'll be doing all of this within a new context, which is called stage here, which is working on USD files. So let's delete all that and just keep our sphere. Okay. So like I said, we can zoom in and take a look. If we come up here to this this box here, we can see that there are different ways of viewing our geometry. So typically I like to work in this smooth wired shaded, so we get smoothed normals, and also you can see the wireframe. You can also view the points as well here if you need. You can view your vertices, your vertex normals. We got different lighting settings here. They won't do anything much now because we don't have any lights, but here you got different kind of levels of quality and lighting. On this side we can move our geometry around. Okay, we can use these handles to manipulate our geometry. So typically I would just use this kind of gizmo which kind of encompasses all of these except for the scale, but you can use that to move your geometry around. To scale you'd have to click there, and then you can do your typical kind of scaling things. Let's go back. Okay, and also you can always just type values into your parameter window up here. So as I said, we've got parameters up here, but the way I prefer to work, if we come here, select your geometry node and then press P on your keyboard, we've got exactly the same options down here. We've got a little parameter kind of window in the corner. So I prefer to get rid of these windows. Okay, and then just have it in the corner there. I find this a bit cleaner, easier to work with. So now if we take this node and we can either double click to go inside, okay, and then if I want to come back out, so here you think about this like your kind of folder. When you're looking at folders on your computer, you're going into your drive and into a folder, into another folder. You can do the same thing here. So if I've gone in now, I want to go back out, I can click here. Another option is to press U to go up. I can also press I to go in. Okay, so here I'm still in the OBJ context, but actually in the SOP context now, which is SOP, surface operators. And now I have access to these individual primitives or polygons and the points, and I can have a lot more control over the geometry. Okay, I can do things like that. On the outside, basically I can just rotate, move and scale it. So I'm just going to get rid of that. So let's go back out and let's actually do something that's very important at the beginning of any project, which is to set up your project folder. Okay, so saving your scene. So come up to File, and then we're going to go to where is it, New Project, and then give your project a name. So I'm going to call this My First Houdini Project. Okay, and then wherever you'd like to save this says $home, which is a Houdini variable, which you don't need to worry about too much, but it's just wherever you saved Houdini when you installed it, I think. But you can put in any drive that you like. So I'm going to leave this in my D drive. Okay, so this will create a folder in my D drive called My First Houdini Project, and it will create folders within that folder with these names. Okay, and this is just useful for saving different types of geometry. Okay, so we just click accept on that, and then we come up to File, Save As. Okay, and then go to, if you press $hip, that will take me, sorry, $job initially, and that will take me to where we just built, okay, that where we just saved that project, and then give this a name. So the same thing, My First, let's call this our scene, okay, because this is a scene file, our HIP file. Click accept, and let's take a look at how that looks on the computer. So there you go. You can see in my D drive, we've got this folder called My First Houdini Project. And within that, we've got all these folders. And then at the bottom, My First Scene here, which is my HIP file. Okay. And then if I want to, once I close my computer and I want to start up Houdini again, I can just come in here, double click that, and I will open my project as long as I saved it as I did, as it was the last time I was working on it.